Coming up on today's show, we're going to dissect a wild theory / rumor as to why the Browns have not made Joe Flacco their official starter. And then we're going to recap all the injury news going into Week 14 regarding Trevor Lawrence and Amari Cooper. But really quickly, help us reach 30,000 subscribers. We are so close to that number. Help us get to the next big milestone and subscribe if you have not already. But let's get started with an interesting theory, we'll put it, as to why the Browns have not made Joe Flacco their official starter. Tony Grossi was on ESPN Cleveland today, and he gave a pretty interesting idea as to why this might be the case. Here's what Tony said. Flacco has a chance to make Watson look real bad here over the next 5 games. If Flacco gets better than he was in his first game, that's going to reflect on their whole trade for Watson. You guys don't think there is anyone in the building that would keep Flacco out for that reason, do you? Let me just start by saying this. This is new territory for Browns fans. This is the first time Browns fans are really bickering / debating about a really good problem to have. And that is, we've got too many good quarterbacks, right? I mean, this is uncharted waters going from bickering about which bad quarterback should the Browns play to, hold up, we might have a real problem on our hands. What if our quarterback is too good, actually? This is something we have never really seen before as a fan base. So it's pretty, at least I find, amusing to have a problem on your hand, similar to like the DeJuan Jones, Jack Conklin, Jed Wills. If all 3 tackles are healthy, who should start? Those are good problems to have as a team. If the Browns' biggest problem right now is Joe Flacco might show up, Deshaun Watson, and take this team to the playoffs, that's an excellent problem to have. That's a much better problem to have than teams like the Panthers, who have a problem of, we don't know if our quarterback is any good. But ultimately, I think the reason why Joe Flacco has not been listed as the official starter is Kevin Stefanski wants to keep the Jags guessing. Now, I do think Tony's final note in that quote was rather interesting about, are there any people in Berea in the building, right? This might be one of those things that goes maybe a little bit above Stefanski if this does end up being true, which I don't believe is the case. Spoiler. Maybe it's like the Haslam's buzzing down going, hey, we did not just spend $230 million on Deshaun Watson for Joe Flacco to come off the couch in November and outshine our superstar quarterback. No way. Do not let that happen. I am not going to get embarrassed like that. So I don't think this idea is actually completely ridiculous and asinine, but ultimately, no. The Browns want to be successful. Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry want to win games. They want to go to the playoffs. That's going to help keep their jobs, right? So I do not believe they are self-sabotaging to make Deshaun Watson look better. Is there someone in that front office that probably doesn't want to see Joe Flacco outduel Deshaun Watson too much and have it reflect poorly on their decision to make that trade? I bet deep down there's a little bit of that. And I think that's just true in general anytime the backup quarterback takes the field. Like, if you're a starter and your backup goes in and they start lighting it up, there's going to be a point where you're watching and you're like, did you have to throw the 4th touchdown? Like, we were already up by 3 scores at that point. So I think there's just a little bit of competitiveness, around the building about, we want our future superstar quarterback, Deshaun Watson, to not be outplayed by Joe Flacco. But no, I do not think this is a case where the Browns are going to keep Joe Flacco off the field to protect Deshaun Watson's image in this locker room. Now, like I said, the Browns need to start winning, right? I mean, this is just not for 2023, but in general, they've got to get themselves into the playoffs and get some playoff history and get some playoff experience. Because I was looking at, I would say, the 10 most notable / experienced players on this roster when it comes to the postseason, and Juan Thornhill leads the way with 9 games, all that coming with Kansas City. Za'Darius Smith, who has been around the league a little bit, he's played in 7 postseason games. Amari Cooper has been in the playoffs and played 4 games. Deshaun Watson's got 3 postseason games under his belt. But look at the homegrown talent for Cleveland, right? Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, David Njoku, all 2 games back in 2020. Denzel Ward, Joel Bitonio, 1 game. Dalvin Tomlinson last year with the Vikings, 1 game. I mean, there are other players on this team who have been to the postseason, but the point is, look at the names on the left and then look at the names on the right. The homegrown drafted Browns players don't have a lot of playoff experience. The Browns want to change that this year. even if they do not go and win this Super Bowl, which they look like a Super Bowl contending team just a few short weeks ago with the healthy Deshaun Watson, they want to get themselves that January experience so that next year, when hopefully Watson and Chubb are healthy, they don't go into the postseason, fish out of water, no idea how to prepare for a wild card or divisional game. No, get that experience now so next year when you are fully healthy, you are ready to roll. Now, what is your confidence level in Deshaun Watson for 2024? Scale it 1 to 10. I'd be very curious to know what your answer is, so let me know down below in the comment section. If 1 is you have no confidence whatsoever, and 10 being you think he's going to win MVP next year, I would say I'm probably at like a 6.2, right? Maybe 6.2. Like, I'm definitely not in the camp of he's going to be a runaway MVP 10, but I am more confident than maybe your average Joe is because we saw a lot of good things out of Watson this season. Hopefully, if he can just stay healthy, you're going to get together 17 really good games out of number 4. Now, I'm just going to be a little bit of an asshole right now, and I just want to point out some interesting numbers because you might not be super high on Deshaun Watson right now, but it's a little funny. I think we can all admit that Kenny Pickett, who has played in twice the amount of games as Deshaun Watson, hasn't thrown any more touchdowns than Deshaun Watson. 1 fewer touchdown despite double the amount of games. So I'm being petty, I know that, but I think this could be a bit of a morale lifter for anyone not feeling too hot about number 4 right now. There's worse things going on over in the Steel City. Now, next up on the show, we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence and Amari Cooper, the injury updates on 2-star players going into Week 14. But really quickly, a shout out to our awesome sponsor today, Prize Picks. Now, if you're like, Petey, what is Prize Picks? Let me explain it to you. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money. Weekly old fantasy football, that's out the door. You want to know what's in? Daily fantasy sports, making new selections every single day. So for Sunday, here's who I'm rolling with. I'm taking the more on Bryce Young and Matthew Stafford's passing yards. I've said all week long, Bryce Young's going to get that interim head coach boost for a little while, and we all saw Stafford just completely shredded the Browns defense last week. I'll take the more on Drake London's receiving yards below 50. I like that. And then I'll take the more on Javonte Williams, Denver's running back, against a bad Chargers defense. So those are my selections on Prize Picks. If you like my selections, feel free to ride with me. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Now, because I love you guys so much, I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So go check them out right now. That's Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's talk injury news here. As the Jags reporter tweeted out today, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who is dealing with a high ankle sprain, returned to practice today in some capacity. Good news maybe for his prospects of playing against Cleveland. Now, he was not a full participant in practice. He was more or less just out there throwing the ball around a little bit. And I still don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to play on Sunday because he suffered a high ankle sprain on Monday. But we were reminded this week how Jerome Ford suffered a low ankle sprain or a low-level high ankle sprain, and he ended up playing the very next Sunday. So Lawrence does give me that Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Iron Man vibe. I'm not going to miss a single start if I don't have to. So I could see him going out there and just standing in shotgun all day and just not moving around a whole lot because he wants to be out there for his team. But I could also see the Jags going, hey, we have aspirations to play deep into January. Let's not jeopardize that for one early Sunday in December in Cleveland, who's also dealing with injuries at the quarterback position. Now, if T-Law cannot go, it's going to be C.J. Beathard, who also, by the way, was limited for practice earlier this week. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. But the longtime backup, primarily with the San Francisco 49ers, is where he got most of his experience. Does not have a phenomenal track record, like 3,600 yards, 18 touchdowns. As a starter, he is 2-12, so it doesn't 2-10, I should say. So it's not like he's got a ton of experience to begin with. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not C.J. Beathard is the starting quarterback for the Jags, and whether or not Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback. If I had to put my money down, I think we're going to see Flacco and C.J. Beathard play, but it doesn't look like it's a absolute impossible chance for Trevor Lawrence to play on Sunday. Now, as for Amari Cooper, Tom Withers, who covers the team, tweeted out, "We don't know yet if Amari Cooper, who's dealing with a concussion, will play Sunday. I can report he's feeling better." I mean, we're talking about Iron Man here right now. Amari Cooper has not missed a game due to injury since 2017. He's all reliable. He's always going to be out there. So he's definitely going to do everything he can this week to clear concussion protocol. I know he was doing some things at practice today, but I mean, DTR is technically still in concussion protocol. So just because you're on the practice field does not mean you are good to go on Sunday. You got to clear the protocol, which can go up until the last day or so. So we'll keep an eye on this one. We'll keep you all posted, but fingers crossed Cooper can go because he is a huge asset to this team, no doubt about it. Now let's just talk about the defense for a moment before I let you guys get on out of here. Jim Schwartz spoke to the media today, and I thought this quote was rather telling. He said, "We've gone 2 weeks without a defensive lineman sack. That's not how we're built. Have a lot of resources invested there. Have to get back to what we were doing. It's not all about Miles. We've had 8 guys not have sacks in 2 weeks. I expect to get back to that." Anytime Jim Schwartz speaks, I get fired up. I'm smelling a 5-sack Sunday coming. I feel like Jim Schwartz goes, "Wait a minute. You guys thought because we had a 2-week road trip and you could get Oysters DoorDash to your apartment that we would take the Sunday off?" No, it's going to be ugly, bad weather conditions on Sunday, just how we like it in Northeast Ohio in December. It's going to be a tough day for both offenses. The defenses should thrive. They should shine. It'll be a lot like maybe week 1 against the Bengals. Some rain coming down, all sorts of directions, maybe some snow as well. I smell a big day coming for the defense. Because unfortunately, the starting 4 defensive linemen the last 2 weeks during this 2-game losing skid have not been big producers. Myles Garrett did not record a single tackle against the Rams. Credit to LA, they had a good game plan. They got the ball out quick, but I think Garrett is still playing through a shoulder injury. Za'Darius Smith has not been a huge sack monster this year, but he's still getting pressures. I still like what I'm seeing out of 99. Dalvin Tomlinson and Jordan Elliott up the middle. They might have some success on Sunday because we look at the PFF ranks for the Jags offensive line, and what do we know? The Jags per PFF, and PFF's not the end-all be-all, have their starting center, Luke Fortner, ranked dead last among 39 qualifying centers. Now, Anton Harrison, their right tackle, the rookie out of Oklahoma, he has looked like a rookie tackle this year. Definitely some growing pains, but he's not a horrible tackle, although he definitely has had some moments that Jacksonville wishes they could have back. Walker Little at left tackle, he's an average left tackle. Ezra Cleveland and Brandon Sheriff on the inside are their best 2 offensive linemen. So hopefully this is a good day for Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith coming off the edge. So let me know who you got in this game. Browns or Jags? Chime in for me down below in the comment section. I'm taking the Brownies, but I always love to hear what you guys have to say. That's going to do it for us on this edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. Thanks so much for tuning in. I always appreciate those of you who take time out of the day to come hang out with us. And one last request. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you guys know I'm a sucker to find out who the real ones are. So scroll on down and type me in the comment section.